You know this tree. I bet you've walked past it 1,000 times. It grows super fast, it's tough as nails, and in the fall, wow, its colors are just beautiful. Here in its native North America, it's a totally normal, everyday tree. But what if I told you that in other parts of the world, this familiar face is actually a Trojan horse for a full-blown ecological invasion?
Yeah, you heard that right. That's a direct quote from researchers on the ground. A biological time bomb. So today, we're going to crack this case open and figure out why this seemingly ordinary tree, the Boxelder, has earned such a terrifying reputation.
Because really, it's a tree of two faces. On one side, it's got everything you'd want. It grows fast, handles drought, gives you that gorgeous fall color. But on the other side, it's an invasive monster, an amplifier for a deadly pest, and a sentinel, basically a living warning sign that disaster is coming. So how on earth can it be both? Well, to get to the bottom of this, we have to treat it like a real investigation. We're about to uncover a crime scene that's happening right out in the open, hidden in our parks and along our streets. Okay, so here's the key idea you've got to understand. This concept of a sentinel species. It's literally the canary in the coal mine. See, there's this tiny invasive beetle, and it has an absolute favorite target, the Boxelder. So if you want to know if the invasion has reached your town, you don't check every single tree. No, you stake out the Boxelders. They're the first to get hit, the first to send up the alarm. But, of course, to be able to read that alarm, you first have to be able to identify the sentinel itself. So let's put together a quick field guide for recognizing our key player, the Boxelder tree.
And don't worry, it's actually pretty simple. We're just going to look at 3 key features. First, the leaves, then its seeds and flowers, and finally, the bark. Ready?
First up, the leaves. And right away, this tree is a bit of a trickster. You see, the Boxelder is technically a maple, but it doesn't have that classic single maple leaf you see on the Canadian flag. Nope, it has these compound leaves with 3 to 5 jagged little leaflets. It's a master of disguise, and a lot of people mistake it for an ash tree. All right, moving on to clue number 2. Look for the seeds. You probably call them helicopters. On a Boxelder, they hang down in these really obvious, heavy, V-shaped clusters that droop down. And in the spring, the male trees get covered in these long, lime green flowery things that look like tassels. Seriously, they look like they need a haircut. You can't miss. And finally, clue number 3. Check the bark. Now, this is interesting. On a young tree, the bark is surprisingly smooth, sometimes with this kind of waxy white powder on it you can just rub off. But as the tree gets older, it completely transforms, developing these deep, crisscrossing ridges. It's a pretty dramatic change. Okay, so we've identified our sentinel. Now let's get to the real culprit it's warning us about. A tiny, tiny beetle called the polyphagous shot-hole borer. And just like any good detective, we're now going to analyze the forensic evidence it leaves behind at the scene. So, if you're looking at a Boxelder, what are the telltale signs that this microscopic criminal has been at work? What clues are we looking for? At first, the evidence is really subtle. You're looking for tiny little holes in the bark, only about 1 millimeter wide. We're talking the size of a ballpoint pen tip. Out of these holes, the tree might start to weep, these dark, wet stains. Or it might push out this crunchy white sap that looks for all the world like a tiny sugar volcano. But here it is. Here is the smoking gun. As the beetle tunnels inside, it pushes out the compacted wood dust, and this stuff forms these tiny toothpick-like tubes that stick straight out of the bark. Researchers literally call them noodles. If you see these little noodles, it is a 100% positive ID. The invasion is on. So what's the motive here? Why is this partnership between this beetle and this tree so incredibly destructive? Well, this is where the Boxelder tree stops being just a victim and becomes an accomplice. Now get this, because here's the twist. The beetle isn't actually eating the tree. It's a farmer. It carries a deadly fungus called fusarium in its mouth. It tunnels into the wood, plants the fungus, and then its babies eat the fungal crop as it grows. It's the fungus that really does the killing. And this right here is why the Boxelder is called an amplifier. For some reason, this fungus grows incredibly well inside its wood, creating the perfect nursery. A single infested Boxelder can become a super spreader, pumping out hundreds of thousands of new beetles, all ready to fly out and attack other trees. This creates what scientists call propagule pressure. Basically, it's a numbers game. When you have that many beetles pouring out of one spot, they create this invisible cloud of invaders so dense it can completely overwhelm the natural defenses of other, healthier trees that wouldn't normally even be at risk. The Boxelder literally becomes the engine for the entire invasion.
So, what's the end game? What is the final warning that the sentinel gives us before it's too late? Let's look at the final verdict on this tree and the consequences of what happens when we ignore its message.
The decline, it's shockingly fast. Within the first year, you'll start to see something called flagging, where entire branches just suddenly wilt and the leaves turn brown, as if a season passed overnight for just that one branch. That's the fungus clogging up the tree's veins. And from there, it's a rapid spiral. Within just 1 to 2 years, the entire tree can be dead, just standing there like a silent, dry skeleton.
So the final verdict is harsh, and for good reason. In places like South Africa, the Boxelder is legally a top-tier invasive species. It's not just an amplifier, it's a water thief in dry climates, and it kills off native biodiversity. And even after it's dead, it becomes what they call a beetle bomb, a brittle, dangerous fire hazard that can still be releasing pests long after it's died. And this brings our entire investigation right back home, maybe even to your own backyard. The next time you're out for a walk, take a closer look at the trees on your street. Do you see those compound leaves? Those drooping helicopters? Now you know exactly what you're looking for. Are they just trees, or are they sentinels just waiting to sound the alarm?